This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
It's Tony Galwell shit show. And I know that the show is Tony Galwell shit show. And I know, yeah.
How he's doing? I'm actually not in a fowler. I actually haven't been in a fowler in a while. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But I had this. I think I'm a bit anxious, to be honest. I think I'm feeling a bit anxious. Okay. And I actually don't think it's career related, to be honest. Normally what happens is I finish a tour and then I live in this kind of liminal dead space. That's kind of happening as well. And, you know, I need a new project. Loads of ideas. Loads of little things tinkering away. Not true. It's actually not fucking true at all. I actually do have a couple of projects that I'm very excited about. But, you know, like, nothing fucking dead cert. And look at me trying to fucking placate yous here. Be like, oh, I've actually loads going on. I don't. Well, I do have some things that I'm interested in. But my quality of life without anything new is also pretty fine. It's good. I'm doing Edinburgh. Whatever. Listen, I don't think maybe it is actually a bit career related. You know me and the bloody dopamine guys. Nom, 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 nom. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Nom, nom, nom. Bloody Pac-Man with the dopamine pellets. All right, so I actually don't think it's that. I think I'm lashing out at being lit. I was going to say being. This is weird. This is exactly the issue. I think I'm lashing out, and I'll say what I was going to say, and I feel immediately ashamed. I'm lashing out at being a Southsider, to be honest. I'm not going to fucking lie. I'm lashing out a little bit about feeling like a square. And Southsiders not necessarily squares, but you know what I mean? Being some square suburban Southsider. Because I've been doing weird things. This isn't going to sound too weird. It's totally fine. But, like, we were dropping the kids off at school today, and I wore shorts, which is totally fine. But I also wore, calf high, fucking sneaker socks and a pair of Vans and a Pillow Queens t-shirt and a backwards hat was the thing as well, a backwards cap. I went skateboarding yesterday and I looked fucking shit. And I will say, and I gave Terry a big hug when we went to the house because I was wearing my big pink helmet and I was absolutely bricking it on a skateboard because I don't have the balance that I used to have, but I'm figuring it out. All right, I'm just figuring shit out. And I went into Terry after we were chatting to some of the mums and dads outside on the road, and I gave her a big hug, and I was like, I fucking love that you didn't find it embarrassing me going out there with a helmet on a skateboard and not looking very good on it. And she's like, why would I have an issue with that? I'm so proud of you getting back into something that you like, you know? So there was between that and then going to the school today, this is not the thing. It's not like I threw it on. There was other things. I didn't put on a shirt. I didn't put on, they're kind of cool cords, but they're still chino looking-ish. They're kind of, emerald green cords. And I didn't put on a shirt. And I intentionally looked for the Pillow Queens t-shirt and the shorts and the Vans that I took out and a backwards hat. I intentionally put it on. And I've also been playing like punk and hardcore music on the Alexa at home. Sorry if that made yours go off. But I've been playing that at home during the day with my wife within earshot. And that wouldn't be, she's not emo like me. Do you know what I mean? She's not into Alexis on Fire. Do you know what I mean? Like she didn't even know Refused or from Sweden. This is what I'm talking about. And I'm playing this shit. My poor wife, as supportive as she is with my, I must crack skateboarding before I'm 40 kick that I'm on. Kick flip. Marhampla would be a move. Let the Scott Bordine, you know, os Gaeilge. As supportive as she is, and I'm there as well, fucking blaring hardcore on the speaker. So look, I don't know what's going on. I think I got a bit floored, right? Because I was there. I did at a gig in Dundrum, and I was chatting to some people I had a great gig, by the way. I had a lovely time. I've had a lovely tour. Thanks to everyone who came, listened to me telling me silly stories. And you cry weird. The next leg of that will be Edinburgh, and then I'll have to fucking figure some other shit. What if I just run out of jokes? Do you know what I mean? What if I just fucking run out? What if it's just been going fucking downhill since Plume? 10 years ago, actually. 10 years ago. Coming up on the 10th anniversary of Plume. I need to figure something special for that. Maybe a proper, 4K HD kind of upscaled steelbook. Or sell it as an NFT. Someone can have it now. Don't know. We'll figure that shit out. But yeah, what am I saying? I think I'm lashing out. And there's loads of snooze boxes in my drawer, in my underwear drawer. Just fucking sea of empty boxes, formerly housing nicotine patches, nicotine tea bags or whatever they are. Squalor. I'm wearing hats a lot. Hats are normally a very clear indication that I'm anxious. I mean, I wear hats most of the time. But if I'm putting a hat on rather than looking at my hair, do you know what I mean? I remember seeing The Pit, where one of the doctors who has experience with the elderly, just to kind of get a general sense of their mobility, just asked them to show them their bare feet to see if they'd, cut their nails or whatever. And they were able then to see, oh, this person doesn't have good enough mobility to get down at their feet. And that's a good telltale sign for the quality of life generally at home if they can't touch their feet. Anyway, I would say me wearing a hat and having a load of snooze boxes in me underwear drawer. That's normally an indicator that something's ticking over. Anyway, I'll tell you, Dundrum, right? I was there and I was chatting to some people in the audience, and someone was telling me that they're an intern at KPMG. And I'm like, great, I got family, work or have worked in KPMG. I don't know anything about what it is. I find the logo very boring. I don't really know what they do in there. And I don't want to know. It's not that I'm putting fucking earmuffs on. It just isn't the sort of thing that would interest me at all, I'm afraid. With respect. Thank you for, telling me what you do when you're in the audience, of course. And then someone else was saying that they're an intern at, I thought they were saying UI, but they were saying E and Y. And then my brother-in-law, after the gig, told me that that means Ernest and Young. And then a couple of the other people were kind of talking about how Ernest and Young and KPMG are part of the Big Four. And I'm like, couldn't name the other two, And I don't, and it's this kind of like, is this, I don't know. I remember saying to Terry one time, when we first moved over to the south side, about 7 years ago, I remember just getting like lashing out, because whatever, we just made small talk with some people, and they seemed perfectly nice, but they weren't rockers, all right, which is totally fine. And I said, I can't talk about Spider-Man or anything with them. She's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, they wouldn't know anything about Spider-Man. They wouldn't know who the Sinister Six were. And she's like, is that what makes a friend? And I'm like, if you don't fucking, you should at least know who they are. I don't know. So I think I'm lashing out a little bit. Like, I'm even fucking reluctant now to tell you this anecdote, because to be honest, it actually paints me as very fucking entitled South Dublin, career orientated, whatever, non-creative. I had to bring the car to be valeted today. All right, look, don't run away, please. I'm desperate. I have a load of snooze boxes in my drawer. I'm fucking freaking out. Right, please come back. No, I brought the car to be valeted. It's the car that I have a lend of from the Toyota Corporation, and I have to give it back to them in the next couple of weeks. So I wanted it to look nice before I give it back. Give it, leave it better than you found. Leave it better than you found. Is what they always say. And so I went to get it valeted, and I booked it online, and then went to the place. I was like 5 minutes late. And then I said, "Sorry, I'm late," and he goes, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." This guy. Um, and then he kind of came over. He was cleaning her car, and he came over, and he goes, "You're 5 minutes late." And I was like, "Oh, we thought we already covered this." And I was like, "Sorry about that." And he's like, "Don't worry about it." I'm like, all right, all right. And then and he had this kind of definitely guys, definitely neurospicy guys. You're a neurospicy individual, bro. You're fucking neurospicy. These fucking tell you what, you can call yourself undiagnosed, ADHD if you want. You could say you, you know, you probably shouldn't even be saying touches the tiz. That's also quite reductive. Either way, listen, this guy had something going on, because he had that kind of, I think it was ADHD. It was that kind of like staring at you, like you've now become their hyper focus. Like, what is this? Who are you? When people are fascinated with you. Does that ever happen? Like, I'm not, and I'm that's not coming from a fucking. I get my EV valet entitlement piece, where I might meet people who are maybe a fan of mine. You know that you've had it. You're just someone at a wedding or someone in a fucking queue at the post office or whatever, and they just seem fascinated with you. They ask you loads of questions, and this guy had that, but he fucking staring through me, and then he was like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "Dublin." And he goes, "No, you are not. No, 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 you are not." And I was like, "No, I am. I am, yeah." And then he had a look at the car, and he goes, "What you order, that wouldn't be no good for this car. You need to get," and he upsold me. And then I said, "Okay, whatever, that sounds like an okay price." And I wanted to get a good job done. And he goes, "I'm sorry." And I'm like, "It's fine. No, I appreciate your advice." And then he goes, "On the order you said it was a small car. This is not a small car." And I was like, "Sorry about that." And he goes, "Don't worry about it." And we just kept doing this thing where he's kind of like apologizing to each other. And he was like, "It's fine, don't worry about it." It was really weird. He's like, "Don't worry about it." Anyway, I go off for about an hour, and I come back, and there's this old woman cleaning my car. And I was like, "Oh, hello. I'm here to pick up the car." And she was like, 5 more minutes. And she was cleaning the boot. And then your man ran over and he's like, "That's my mother. That's my I told her not to clean the boot, but she did it anyway." And then, so I ended up having to give him more money because his ma was cleaning. Anyway, I gave him more money anyway because I was happy with the job. And then I think he was trying to kind of say, because I don't think English was his first language. I think he was trying to say at the end, "Hey, come back anytime," or if you ever need a valet, you know where to come or whatever. But as I was driving away, he kind of tapped on the window, and I wound down the window, and he just again was staring at me, and he said, "I would really, really love to see you again." And I really do think he wasn't trying to fuck me. I mean, maybe that would be nice, not to fuck him, but I don't know. Whatever. To be wanting a man. I think I might just fucking lead on a mate or something. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm lashing out here, guys. I know I am, but like maybe another straight male friend of mine that I could just be leading on in a bit of a weird way. It wouldn't seem suspicious if Terry was to be looking at my phone. You know, I'm just texting a mate, but maybe I try and get one of my mates to like fall in love with me in a romantic way and break their heart. You know what I mean? I feel like I just need some fucking rocker drama or something. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. You know, I think I'm fucking just I'm lashing out, guys. I'm wearing fucking backwards hats to the fucking school, and I'm wanting to seduce my friends. Do you ever find that before you get 40? I just want to be fucking cool. I am cool, but I'm feeling, I don't know, something going on. I just need to go back to therapy. That's all it is. I'm even trying to be cool and trying to look cool in front of my kids. You know, like the young fellow was saying, why do I have to go to bed right now? And then I said, can you please put your pajamas on? It's getting quite late. And then he said, why are you asking me to do things all the time? Why are you acting like you're the king of the world? He said to me. And I said, because it's my job. I'm hearing this fucking boring shit come out of my mouth. Because it's my job to keep you safe. And he rolled his eyes. And I was like, Terry always says that I'm always fucking riling the kids up before bed. Because I said, don't you think I wouldn't love if we could stay up all night watching movies and eating ice cream and using actual samurai swords that we're not even supposed to take out of the sheath and practice with them, banging them off each other, throwing kunai into the walls while shooting fireworks in the house and jumping on the couch? Don't you think I'd love to do that? But it's not safe. And I don't really know what point I was making because his mind was racing. And he started jumping up and down the bed super fast. You know? I want to be like, hey, bro, I'm cool. You know what I mean? I'd love to do that shit. But we can't. Because it's my obligation to not shoot fireworks in the house and throw kunai at the walls. Do you know what I mean? But he was asking, my mom was letting him play Candy Crush, which is, everyone has their own, life path. That's what we always say. Young fellow was like, this kid I know has a lighter. And I was like, well, you're not having a lighter. And every time you ask me if you can have a lighter, or anytime you pick up something that you're not supposed to touch, you try to pick up like this jagged kind of handsaw, like a small. It's like, it looks fucking awesome, to be honest. It looks like a fucking Rambo knife, and I've been using it to fucking hack at the brambles. Tell you, I went fucking 90 on them brambles in the bush at the front. And even some kind of older dad came around, and he was like, hey, I have a hedge trimmer if you just want to use that. Because you could see me on my fucking hands and knees sawing at the bramble stalks, all these thorn bushes. And maybe that's the way you're supposed to do it. Maybe you just let thorns happen and you just trim it back. But I was trying to get to the fucking root cause, and I scratched my fucking hands and arms. I look like, when Batman takes his shirt off. He looks, looks like he's just been in some fucking kink dungeon. So my hands were looking like. And so the young fellow was wanting to pick up the knife. And I told him when he's 15 he can have a knife. I hope he doesn't remember. But I said, anytime you pick up that knife, it's going up 1 year. And then anytime you show me that you're responsible, I'll drop it down a year. And I think I haven't heard that before. I don't know if I've invented that, but it's been working pretty well. We are up to about 18 now. He hasn't done anything responsible with the knife. But then because I can't really remember the age, I was like, what age are we at now? And he's like, 15. We're not at 15 because you grabbed it there the other day. You weren't supposed to. Anyway. So, well, how did I get onto that? Yeah, so look, some kid has a lighter, and I'm like, look, that's their plan. That's not our plan. Our plan is you become a scout, and you learn how to control fire responsibly, and you can use a knife responsibly, all this shit. But he was asking about Candy Crush, and because my mom was letting him play it. So, our plan is to not have them hooked on, these kind of like little, dopamine hits on a screen before you even knows how to read. For us anyway. And there's different things. He's played Nintendo Switch and shit. Do you know what I mean? but he was asking when he can play Candy Crush, and I was like, when you know that your mind is being hacked is when you can play Candy Crush. When you know that these fucking sparkles and kind of pachinko machine sounds that have been essentially concocted in a lab to make you addicted to it. When you understand that that's what's happening, and you're still playing it because it's just still great crack. When you understand both things are happening at the same time, and he didn't really like that. But I thought I had a good analogy where I said to him, he was getting a bit fucking. I have to go in big fucking roundabout ways to explain analogies to him now because he can sniff one coming a mile away. He'll actually run out of the room now when I start trying to give him an analogy, being like, you know the way, do you know the way you have your Lego piece and you might have two bricks and they just click together, they just fit, Well, that would be like blah, blah, blah. You go, blah, run out of the room. Doesn't want to hear it. So I kind of tricked him today when I was I paid him a compliment. I was like, do you know the way you're very good at, like, if you have like a piece of cake and then if someone offers you another bit of cake, you might have a bit of it, but you'd be like, do you know what? That's actually enough for me. The same way like your Halloween sweets. You don't eat until you get sick. And, a lot of kids might. Well, right now you know that feeling of being a bit too full, but you don't know what that feeling of being too full is when it comes to games like Candy Crush. And you don't know how to stop, we have to wait until you know what that feeling is before you can play it so that you know how to stop. And I thought that was a great analogy. And then he just said, can I play when I'm 15? And I was like, yeah. There's a fucking lot of shit going down when this young fella's 15. He's going to be a fucking knife-wielding pyromaniac Candy Crush addict by the time he turns 15. But, watch this space. Soon happened like that, So it'll be the blink of an eye. I'm looking up Apple Watches as well. So I think that's part of the anxiety. I tell you, it all happened, tried to download a sketchy new operating system from my iPhone, iOS 27. Like glitchy as fuck. You shouldn't even be putting it on your phone. It's for web developers to put on their phone. The new iPhone software update that it won't be available until like November, but you can get it if you say you're a developer and put it on your phone. Now, why would you do that? For something new and shiny that will immediately break your phone. And I was there downloading it. I'm telling you, it's anxiety. I need to fucking. And now I'm looking up Apple Watches and videos of people who say that they've completely, and all this exact same type of video. Some kind of Asian dude, I don't know from where, will be there with some beautiful lighting and a bokeh background and talk about how using an Apple Watch as a phone 10x'd his productivity and changed his life forever. This is what my algorithms show me all the time. I need to get back into watching other Asian dudes in, making linen out of grass, making fucking some kind of clay teapot in a Vietnamese jungle. That's the fucking shit. That's the Norah Jones of algorithm for me, anyway. Because I've been playing Norah Jones a lot, which is also a sign. Playing Sade a lot, another sign that I'm anxious. If I'm getting a bit overwhelmed and I feel like I'm about to, if I've already disappeared a couple of times, to take a shit because I'm overwhelmed, and I've kind of run out of goodwill in the home, that I can't really disappear again, then the next best thing that I can do is just play like Norah Jones or Sade, while being in it. Having said that, I've actually not been very anxious with the kids. I've been anxious with the adults and at work. And actually, to be honest, the kids are giving me the least amount of anxiety. But you know what, guys? We're going to leave it there. You know, I've put this podcast on a 1-year hiatus before by giving too much information away. That look, it's best that maybe we keep some of this just for Daddy. But look, if you've been affected by any of the issues raised on this podcast, whether it be being a neurospicy individual, marhampla someone with a touch of the tiz, marhampla someone with anxiety, or just someone lashing out by playing hardcore music at their wife because they now live in South Dublin, please do get in contact. I'd love to hear from you, and I would really like to see you again. All the best. Bye-bye.
It's Tony Garwell Shit Show. And I know that the show is Tony Garwell Shit Show. And I know, yeah.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.